So for the GED, you'll have to know how to find the slope of a line. And the slope of a line is just a measure of how steep the line is. And the formula for calculating the slope of a line is, we say m, which is the slope, is equal to change in y over the change in x. So change in y is, we'll say this is one y value, y1, and that is another y value, y2. And this here is one x value, xy, and this here is another value, x2. So to find the change in y, we can just do y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1 for the change in x. And so we then begin to sub in different values for our y and x. So y2 is a 4. So we do 4 minus y1, which is a 0, divided by x2, which is 2, minus x1, which is 0. So here we now have, so 4 minus 0 is just 4, and 2 minus 0 is 2. And you can leave this in this form, or you can further simplify by dividing both numerator and denominator by 2. So 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 2 divided by 2 is 1. So this is 2 over 1, and 2 over 1 is just 1. Okay, and then we'll do another example to further cement this idea. So what is the slope of the line that passes through the points 2,1 and 4,3? So again, we just first have to label the points, label this as x1, and label that as y1, and label that as x2, and label this as y2. So to find the slope of a line is, we say slope m is equal to the change in y over the change in x. Change in y is just, so we just have to find the difference between these y values. So we'll do y2 minus y1 divided by change in x, which is x2 minus x1. So now we can sub in different values for y2 is 3 minus y1, which is 1, divided by x2, which is 4, minus x1, which is 2. So we just have to work this out. 3 minus 1 is 2, and 4 minus 2 is 2. And 2 divided by 2 is just 1, because any number divided by itself is just 1. So the slope of the line that passes through these 2 points is 1. M is equal to 1. So I hope you guys are getting the idea and the feel for how you calculate these things. Let's do another slightly more complicated but still doable problem. What is the slope of the line that passes through the points -1, -2, and 1, 2? So only difference here is that now we're dealing with negative numbers. So again, we just do the same process, and we label this as x1, we label that as y1, and we label this as x2, and we label that as y2. And so the slope that passes through of the line that passes through those points is m, which is change in y over the change in x, and change in y is y2 minus y1 divided by change in x, which is x2 minus x1. And so y2 is 2 minus, and remember to always put parentheses when there's a negative number, because it will make it easier for you to see what's going on. y2 minus y1 and y1 is -2. And we divide this by x2, which is 1, minus x1, which is -1. Okay, cool. Side note. So whenever you see a negative number outside of the, you see a negative sign outside of the parentheses, and then you see a negative number inside, these negative signs collude to become a positive sign. So this is +1. So in this case, -2 so 2 minus -2 will, this will collude to become positive, and that will become positive again because it's negative minus -1. So this becomes 2 plus 2 divided by 1, and this colludes to form a positive +1. And this is just 4 divided by 2. And 4 divided by 2, as you can divide both numerator and denominator by 2 to get 2/1, which is just a 2. So the slope of this line that goes through these 2 points is a +2, or just 2. And pay particular attention to what happens when you subtract a negative number. The negative signs just change to become positive, okay? And then we have this other problem here, which is, again, you calculate the slope the same way. M equals to change in y over change in x. So you do, this is x1, that is y1, and this is x2, and that is y2. So you do y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So y2 minus y1 is y2 is 4. So we do 4 minus y1, which is 0, divided by x2. x2 is 0 minus x1, which is -2, right? So 4 minus 0 is just 4, because you're subtracting 0 from any number, just gives you that number. And then remember what we said again about when you have a negative sign following a negative sign, these collude to become one positive sign. So that is 4/2. So a lot of these are coming out to have a slope of 2. But anyways, now that you're here, you just have to, you can simplify this further by dividing both numerator and denominator by 2. So 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 2 divided by 2 is just 1. So it's 2/1. 2/1 is just 2. So the slope of that line is 2. And then we do this guy. So slightly more interesting, but not any more difficult, because it has negative numbers, but you calculate the slope the same way. M is equal to change in y over change in x. You label your points. So you label this as x1, you label that as y1, you label that as x2, and you label that as y2. So M is equal to y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So y2 is -2. So you do -2 minus y1, which is just 9. No, my bad. Y1 is not 9, it's 6. So y2 is -2 minus y1, which is -6, divide by x2 is 9 minus x1, which is -9. So a negative number minus a negative number, this becomes a -8. And I'll explain to you. I'll make another video to explain how you subtract and add negative numbers. So this is a -8. And here where you have two negative signs following each other, remember what we said, they collude to become a positive. So it's -8 over 9 plus 9, which is equal to -8 over 18, because 9 plus 9 is 18. And you can simplify this further by saying the highest common factor of these two guys is 2. So if you divide this by 2, you get a 4. And if you divide that by 2, you get a 9. So the slope for this line is a 4 over 9. And I hope you found this video helpful. And if you look in the comment in the description box, you'll see a link to resources you can use, like practice problems, or like if you want to book a tutoring session with me, you should feel free to do that. Just shoot me a message, and I look forward to hearing.